The next story or anecdote that I am going to tell you happened to me about a year ago, and some of my friends encouraged me to share it with you. It happened to several of us, meaning it was something experienced by a group of 6 people, but without a doubt I was the one who had the worst time during those days that this strange experience lasted. This took place in Guanajuato during a visit I made with my friends for the Cervantino Festival. I've been to that city several times, which I find beautiful and full of history and legends, but I had never had the opportunity to attend the Cervantino. Last year, a great opportunity arose. The uncle of one of my friends had an unoccupied house, which he usually rents out, and my friend convinced him to rent it to us for a weekend at a practically giveaway price. This was so we could attend the festival. As soon as he told us, we agreed, pooled our money, and set off for what we hoped would be our best weekend of the year. When we arrived, we were surprised by how central the house was, how big it was, and the detail with which it was built and maintained. The decor was somewhat baroque, full of figures that seemed to be artisanal and artistic decorations. Nothing there seemed to be repeated. They exuded an aura that made them feel unique and original, true pieces of art. We arrived early, marveled at the house for a while, and of course at the feeling of being in such a place, paying less than we would at a hostel, and decided to go for a walk. I had been a bit sick with the flu in the days prior and was just recovering. The road trip didn't do me much good, so I told them I would shower and catch up with them later. I relaxed and tried to recover, regain my energy. Feeling the house all to myself, I lost myself in my thoughts in the shower. I turned over problems I had at home and for a moment felt very optimistic. As if nothing was really that important. Someone turned on the faucet. "Hey, wait, I'm almost done," I said. I didn't know if it was my roommate or if one of the girls was playing a prank on me. But of course I didn't plan to come out naked. I noticed I had forgotten the towel. If they were playing a prank, they were going to force me to come out like that. "Hey, pass me a towel, please," I said, but no one responded. I finished rinsing my hair when I clearly heard someone get up from the toilet and open the bathroom door to leave. "Hey, seriously, enough. Calm down." I turned off the shower. I had to go out to look for the towel. If one of the girls was trying to prank me, she would be the one surprised to see me as I was born. I said this while at least drying my feet on the mat in front of the toilet. As I dried myself, I saw some footprints on the mat, still wet, as if someone had also stepped out of the shower and then into the room. The footprints were small. The left foot even seemed incomplete, as if it wasn't fully formed. And when I say they were small, I mean it. Footprints that shouldn't measure more than 8 or 9 centimeters in length. I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. I heard someone walking slowly from the beds to the door, exiting the room into the hallway. The bathroom door was ajar because it didn't close well. It allowed me to see a shadow of whoever was leaving. I got chills. Whoever was playing tricks on me was doing so at a time when I felt somewhat emotionally fragile. And I know this because they managed to scare me to the bone. I went out, closed the room door, dried off, and dressed quickly. Since I hadn't unpacked yet, I even put on the clothes I was wearing before showering just to be able to run out of there. When I did, I grabbed my phone and headed to the door of the room. But as I approached, I heard with terrifying clarity someone approaching from the other side of the door. But I heard it completely clearly. I don't know how to explain it, but it was as if I could hear it even inside my head. I blame it on how alert my senses were at a time when my body felt in danger and was preparing to escape or defend itself. I called one of my friends and told them I had gone out and couldn't find them, asking if someone could come pick me up at the house so we could meet there. The truth is, I was scared to death, but I obviously wasn't going to say it. The feeling or suspicion that it was a prank had disappeared moments before, and I just wanted to get out of there accompanied by someone else. I watched the door. I was afraid to touch it to lock it, but I was ready in case it opened to stop it at that moment. Moments later, I heard my friends' voices entering the house, getting closer, laughing. And they laughed, but I knew it wasn't because of a prank. Besides, we're not the type of friends who play these kinds of jokes, especially not such heavy ones. When I heard they were already in the hallway, I opened the door. There was nothing behind it. I walked towards them and, without giving them explanations, asked if we could leave because I was starving. And as we did near the door, the feet of a figure, a Christ on the cross, caught my attention. It was a large figure of good size, and one of the feet seemed incomplete. Chipped as if it had been torn apart. And yes, I know what many must be thinking right now. It's happened to me and I've dealt with it every time I share this experience. First of all, I want to clarify that I am Catholic. I am not afraid of Jesus, quite the opposite, but when that happened, the first thing that came to mind was something my elderly aunt used to tell me, which is that sometimes spirits, negative energies, or low astral beings, whatever you want to call them, become interested in those objects to which we give our feelings, our attention, our being. That's why so many things are said about dolls that start to move, change places. That's why some claim to hear them talk at night. And religious figures sometimes represent for us adults the same magnet of feelings, energies, attention as a toy does for a small child. I didn't want to comment on it at that moment. I wanted to convince myself to ignore everything and enjoy the city, the event. And I did as best as I could. For most of the day, I managed to forget everything until we returned at night. As we turned onto the street where the house was, I realized I would have to spend the night there. An idea that no longer pleased me much. And at night, the almost colonial elegance of the house gave it a gloomy and intimidating aspect. I talked with my friends until very late. Nothing out of the ordinary happened beyond footsteps in the hallways or the patio. Voices that seemed to come from empty rooms. Laughter drowned in the darkness. All, of course, in the company of friends and with some mezcal in us. We unconsciously attributed it to noises coming from the street. A street that was completely deserted by the time we got home. At that moment, like so many things, we didn't see it. It was time to sleep. We were overcome with exhaustion. So I entered my room with my roommate and collapsed onto the bed, almost asleep. Until minutes later, the light from the bathroom, seeping through a crack in the half-open door, woke me up as it shone right on my face. I heard a noise coming from inside. Footsteps. The taps turning on, water running. And running. And running. I kept hearing the footsteps. I could even see the silhouette of someone moving inside. Maybe it's a fixation of mine, but I don't like people wasting water. I can't stand it. I said out loud to my friend, asking what was going on, why he had the taps on. "I'm here," he replied from the other bed, uncovering his face as scared as I was, having been hearing the same sounds and thinking it was me inside. Gathering my courage, I followed him, only to find emptiness. Just the sound of running water and the two of us. We closed the door. He decided to wake our friend, the owner's nephew. For some reason, some foolish reason, I turned off the light and lay down for a moment. I still felt a bit dizzy, perhaps from fatigue, the flights, or the fright I had just experienced. And then I saw it. There, in the corner of the room, in the darkness, was a silhouette. A barely perceptible figure in the shadows, almost blending into the corner, with its shoulders hunched up in a grotesque manner. I froze, watching, too scared to even reach for my phone. And it came towards me. Not like in horror movies, running, but with a sort of bouncing motion. 1, 2, 3 for little hops, and that thing was almost in front of me. I shut my eyes and, by memory recalling the room's layout, dashed to the door to find my roommate. By then he was with the owner's nephew. After he teased me a bit for coming out in my underwear, he asked us to calm down. "Strange and mystical things have always happened here, but there's nothing to worry about," he said. "No one has ever been killed." Something in his tone was unconvincing. My friend and I said we were fine, that we would go for a walk, but we ended up sleeping on a bench 2 streets away. The next day we paid for a rather expensive hotel room, but we managed to sleep. When we had the time to explain why we hadn't stayed at the house that night, we realized we weren't the only ones who experienced strange things that weekend. One of my friends, whose room faced the peculiar inner garden by the door, filled with figures where the Christ was, made an observation. She hadn't seen this figure when we arrived or when we left, but she swears that when we returned at night, the cross was empty, and unless she was mistaken, it remained empty all night, as she saw it several times from her door while she stepped out to smoke.